This is Vermont Edition. I'm Michaela Lafrac. If someone were to ask you, what class are you? How would you answer? Would you know immediately what to say? Or would you be embarrassed or offended? My colleague Erica Heilman has been boldly asking this question, or some version of it, to Vermonters for the past 3 years. She records their answers for Vermont Public's ongoing series, What Class Are You? New stories come out this week. You can find them all on vermontpublic.org. We're going to play a couple of them for you today. I also had the chance to sit down with Erica recently. You might know her from her award-winning podcast, Rumble Strip. We began with Erica describing what she's seeking out in these intimate conversations about class.
It started as an experiment. I think it was 3 years ago that we started doing this series. And I was trying to have conversations with people about socioeconomic and cultural divides in Vermont without wading into politics or without straying into politics, because I thought it would be interesting to find out kind of what's underneath some of the politics. So that's why I started. And also that word, class, which is a really kind of offensive. Obviously, what class are you is a pretty offensive question, or it is for a lot of people. But that word is interpreted so differently by different people, and so that question goes in so many different directions, and almost all of them are interesting. So that's the reason I've kept doing it.
How do you meet the people who you interview for this series? Do you have to convince people to be a part of it, or do people offer themselves up?
No, I have to beg. Of course, I do some begging. No, some people I have found because they've written to me in response to the previous class series, and they've written with their own stories. Sharon Plum in this series was one of those people that we corresponded. But yeah, still I had to beg her. I still had to beg. Ralph Rockwell, I knew from outside his shop, interviewing him at a great distance during COVID. That's how I met Ralph.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Ralph, because that's the first conversation that we're going to air today. Ralph Rockwell. Can you tell us a little bit more about that first time you two met and started to get to know each other?
Yeah, so I was working on a series called Our Show, which was during the pandemic, because none of us knew what to do because we couldn't put mics in faces anymore. So I asked people to send me tape from wherever they were about what was happening to them. And Ralph called me and could not figure out how to record on his phone. And we went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Finally, I was like, Ralph, I got a Swiffer. I got a mic on a Swiffer. I'm going to stay so far away. I'm going to be outside. You're going to be inside. And so I drove to his place in Wolcott, and we freaking had the conversation at a huge distance.
Did you actually like tied the mic to the
Swiffer?
To a
Swiffer, yeah. Swiffers are good for a lot of things.
Anyway, so you're talking with Ralph. Did you two stay in touch?
We stayed in touch, and recently he called me, and we were talking about this tractor pull that he does tractor pulls all summer. So I was actually going to talk to him about the tractor pull, and then we kind of wandered into the subject of money, what it does, and what it's like to not have a lot of it.
Well, let's take a listen to your conversation with Ralph Rockwell.
I just consider myself a working man's class, not highly educated. I quit school when I was 15 and worked every day so far in my life. And I just feel if you got enough money to get by and support your church, things are fine, I believe money can be the root of all evil. It corrupts people. People that are super wealthy, they don't have any respect for the lower class people, the working people, I do believe that people with a lot of money, I think they sin a lot more. Like you take some of the actors or football players, and you hear all kinds of them are in the drugs and alcoholism, and some of them even fast cars and getting into trouble. Like they say in the Bible, the money is the root of all evil.
What are you worried about when you look around at the world?
To be honest, I don't really worry. Lord's timing and everything's going to happen the way he wants it to happen. And worrying won't add one moment of time to your life. If anything, it'll shorten it. But we got a thing saying our property taxes are going to be going up. I love Vermont, and I love living in a place where you can drink water out of the tap, and I like to be able to, the fresh air, and you can breathe, but it's the average person, they're going to price this right out, so it's not going to be affordable to live in Vermont. But I got no desire to live anywhere else, but it may come as time goes on if we have to get off the hill because we're no longer able to plow our own driveway or be safe to get in and out. We may think about moving out of state to where the cost of living is less. We looked at the thing. I got a letter in the mail the other day saying my insurance, supplemental insurance, is going to go up. And we pay it every quarterly, and it was going up a lot. It was like $373. So we're going like, wow. And I called the insurance company. Well, we're sorry to give you the thing, but that's that's the way it is. You couldn't bargain, couldn't nothing. I looked at it. My wife looked at it. My Social Security would just barely cover that.
Oh, we're talking about health insurance?
Yeah.
How are you going to pay it?
Yeah. But we just depend on the Lord, and the Lord provides. Car accident comes along, the car sitting out here, I'm waiting for the insurance company, and get up every day and just make a check mark on the calendar.
You've worked every day since you were 15, and yet you're still struggling to pay your property taxes, or you're still wondering whether you can pay your health insurance. What does that say to you?
It feels like there's something wrong with the system. I don't know how they could fix it or change it, but it seems every year I get older and older, I can do less and less. I've had 2 heart surgeries, and the second time I went in, they did replace some of the stents again, and I just didn't bounce back like I did the first time. And a year later, I'm still short of breath. Yeah, I got a lot of stuff around. I'll sell something if it come into hard times, and use that as a source of income. But it is a little bit concerning. As you get older, you can do less, and it seems like everything else is increasing. I just don't know how things are going to go. It's just, I'm thinking that I'll pass away and be gone before too many hard times come. We got a little bit of money saved away, so even though if we're costing us more the cost of living for taxes and insurance, we'll still be able to have enough money to buy food and pay the bills. But when the money's gone, it's gone.
You have worked to support yourself since you were 15 years old. Is there a lot of pride wrapped up in that?
Yeah, there's proud. I take a pride in paying my bills in full and on time. And you can look at everything around here, and we do not have a mortgage on nothing. Everything we got is paid in full.
So you think you're going to be here till you die, and do you think you're going to work until you die?
I pray to work till I die.
You're a person who would probably want to work until you die, but do you have to work until you die?
Financially, to get by, I'd say yes. We've got some money saved, but like if I stopped working today and just tried to live off our Social Security, I'm not sure that we'd outlive our savings. And then where would we be? Be a burden for our family or be homeless or something? And I just learned from a very young age that I don't want charity. I want to be able to support myself and support my family.
This is Erica Heilman with Vermont Public.
Listening to such intimate conversations with people who, in the case of Ralph, you've known for years now. What is it like to hear somebody talk about something as intimate as money and needing more or the lack of it? Do you ever find yourself wanting to respond with your own experience, wanting to find a way to help somebody? How do you keep up that divide that we talk about in journalism all the time between interviewee and interviewer?
That's a really good question. This is going to sound facile, maybe, but there is in these conversations, and particularly in that conversation with Ralph, there is a kind of mutual generosity in that conversation that I hope, I think that kind of conversation is edifying for both of us. That to make contact with a person and talk about something as you say, as sensitive as this, but also as pressing as this, there is some measure of feeling not alone. And I feel that too when I'm talking to Ralph. I guess what is hard, though, about a conversation like that one with Ralph is I do feel a kind of rage that this man has been working every day. And this I do know about Ralph is he works. That is all he does. He works and he works. Sometimes he's working on tractors. Sometimes he's towing. He runs a towing business, but he's worked a lot. And the idea that he could come to the end of his life and be worried about not having enough fills me with rage. That's how I feel.
Has that changed your feelings about the word class itself? Having had all of these conversations over the last 3 years, does that word sit differently with you now?
Yeah, I'm more and more annoyed by the word, and I'm more and more sensitive about it. I feel I worry that it is reductive. It has at times begun to feel like a kind of crass trick or something, which I don't like. And I don't always use that word. I'm trying to get at sort of what's underneath that word. For some reason, the first time we did this, it felt really provocative in a way that felt productive. And now I don't know how I feel about that question. However, the subject matter, questions about resources and power and whether you have it or not, and education and money, these still feel like very important conversations to me. The question, what class are you, is I'm on the fence about at the moment.
So I'd like to listen to another story from this series. You talked with a woman named Susan Ritz. Can you tell us about Susan?
Susan is a philanthropist and writer in Montpelier. And she's fairly well known as somebody who's been generous to a lot of people and organizations. This was a really interesting conversation. She's done a lot of work to be able to have a conversation like this, which you learn about in the story. That these questions, she comes from wealth, and it's harder to find people who are really wealthy who are willing to talk about it. I guess for obvious reasons, because we like to hide out in Vermont. A lot of people hiding out in Vermont with money, and it's a sensitive matter. So she was unbelievably generous, but clearly she has given it a great deal of thought.
Let's take a listen to Susan's story.
In the town where I grew up, I was not the richest person at all, but my grandparents they had butlers and maids, and, you'd go to their house and you'd sit down and somebody would serve you dinner. And both of my grandfathers started from nothing and ended up running two of the biggest companies in North America.
Is this the first time that anyone has asked you this so directly?
Yes, and I'm recently been working on some writing about my life, and the person who's been mentoring me asked me to write about the absolutely hardest thing, the thing that I didn't ever want to reveal, and that was it.
Really?
Yeah.
What makes it so hard?
Judgment of other people, I think, because I have the same judgments about rich people. They're arrogant. The arrogance of wealth, I'll just say that. And I grew up with that, thinking I came from a special family. I was special. And it took me a long, long time to get over that and realize I was not special in any way. The only difference between me and everybody else was that I had a lot of choices that other people don't have. And that's what I think the best thing about wealth is choice. But I think the thing that's surprising is how much shame goes with it, at least for me. The fact that I never had to suffer makes me feel invalid. But I've always held people who've had to struggle for their livelihoods or who have made something of themselves, like my grandfathers did, in high esteem. And I've never had to do anything. I never had to push myself or get ahead or finish a project or finish the book, or it didn't matter. Nothing ever really mattered. I wasn't going to be poor if it didn't matter. I wasn't going to not be able to support my family if I didn't do it. There was really no motivation for me to do what I think I could have done if I had actually gotten a job.
Does it feel as though even admitting to shame?
Yeah, I hate admitting to shame, because how do I get to be ashamed?
That's exactly what
Yeah, I should just be really happy with everything I got. And if I'm not happy, well, then there's something wrong with me, because I've got it all. I don't have it all. Nobody has it all. But, I hid for years. I hid out and didn't. And I think a lot of people here do. But people would always ask, how do you get to stay home with your kids? And then I had to come up with an answer. Or, what do you do? And I didn't ever have an answer because I didn't have a job. And then they go, well, how do you get to do that? And then...
What were some of your answers? What are some of the things you said?
I made some good investments. Or, well, I was just born really lucky,
Do you find that people make assumptions about the happiness you get to have?
Oh, yes. And I learned very early on, money has nothing to do with happiness. I grew up in a really bad household, domestic violence, alcoholism, all the things that other people deal with. I dealt with all that, neglect, which I always felt like I couldn't talk about that because I was protected. But I wasn't protected as a kid. I was in the same situation as anybody is who has that happen in their home, and it happens everywhere. And that taught me really early on, money does not make you a happy person or a good person. It only protects you from what the consequences could be of your behavior.
You're protected from the law.
Exactly. I don't know. There's a song from Hall & Oates. You're a rich girl, don't go too far, but it don't matter anyway. You can rely on your old man's money. But the last line is, it don't matter anyway. And I always heard it as, you don't matter anyway. If you grow up in the kind of family I grew up in, if you're a girl, you don't matter. Even though my grandparents tried to teach me a lot about money and what it meant to inherit money and how I should never, my one grandfather was like, this is a nest egg, never rely on this. And you remember every single mouth of you eat comes from the salt of another man's sweat. Be grateful for every single thing you have because somebody's working for it, even if it's not you.
But that sounds like it sounds like a very heavy gratitude.
It exactly. And so my life became about philanthropy. That's what I felt like where I could give back or where I could make a difference, that I could use my money to create things that were good for this community and good for my family, and also that I could enjoy. So that's what I started doing. And I'll tell you, the older I get, the more my shame turns to gratitude. and being so grateful I can give money, being so grateful I can travel, I can help my children, they don't have debt from college, being grateful that I live in a beautiful place, I get to live in Vermont.
Big money is not obvious in central Vermont. What do you know that I don't know or other people might not know about how it exists here?
There's a network, and some people are out in the network and some people are not out in the network.
You don't want to get too expensive a haircut.
Yeah. Right. One of the things in among a lot of people that I know that do have money and feel the same way I do, like I don't want people to think I'm a bad person, is like when you want a nice car, but you live somewhere where nobody has a nice car, you don't get it. But the philanthropy section, I think a lot of the stuff that gets done gets a lot of private funding. And I think that comes because I'm not the only one who loves being able to help the community. And coming here, I found other people who came here for the same reason. And so if the people that do have money here are all pretty much in the same boat of what can we do with this money to make our lives better and to make the towns better and to make kids' lives better or farmers' lives better, or what can we do to be helpful and useful in our community with what we were given just by being born.
This is Erica Heilman with Vermont Public.
You said before we listened to Susan's story that it is often harder for people with a lot of money to talk about it. Having done a number of these stories now, do you understand why?
Yeah. I think that in Vermont, well, I don't know, maybe more than in Vermont, but we're really nice people here. We are very nice, and we really like to imagine that we're fair. We don't like the idea that there is inequity in Vermont or anywhere, but really, we're really nice people here. And so I think it is hard for people with a great deal of money to talk about it because it feels unfair. Because in fact, it is unfair, as Susan describes. That's the thing. The ground that we're standing on is you're born where you're born, and you have what you have in the beginning. You have a certain set of circumstances that are challenging in your own ways. So it's a hard topic. So I'm really grateful to Susan for being willing to have that conversation.
So it sounds like you're going to keep
reporting
these stories.
I don't know. I don't know. Again, I want to do it for as long as it's useful. We have to figure that out. So write in, everybody. Let us know. I felt that there were some incredibly interesting conversations in this series that is airing this week. Some things that I hadn't thought of before, some perspectives that I have not heard before. So I'll keep doing it as long as it seems useful.
Well, it's such a compelling and honest and personal series, and I'm so thankful to you for coming on again to talk to us about it.
Thank you for having me yet again on your show.
That was my colleague Erica Heilman. You can find her What Class Are You series on vermontpublic.org. Time for a quick break. Stay tuned, though, because when we come back, we're going to share with you a really wonderful recent episode of Vermont Public's podcast, Brave Little State. Burgess Brown tagged along with 3 Vermonters who have given up their car keys, but are still holding tight to their communities and friendships. That's coming up. Stay with us.
Thanks for listening to Vermont Edition, where support comes from Wendell's Furniture, home of wendellsdeals.com, offering furniture designed for a range of budgets, in stock and ready for summer. wendellsdeals.com. And Vermont Construction's Roofing Division, offering roof installation and repair with free estimates on asphalt and standing seam metal roofs. Now serving all of Vermont and northern New York. More at vtroofing.com.
Welcome back to Vermont Edition. I'm Michaela Lafrac. Getting around in rural New England without a car is doable. There are bike lanes in more populated areas like Burlington, some good buses, and even a train or two. But going carless requires a whole lot of planning, the ability to handle bad weather, and reliance on the limited public transit system or the goodwill of your friends. In a recent episode of Brave Little State, producer Burgess Brown explores a listener's question about maintaining a social life here once you can no longer drive. We're going to devote the rest of this hour to the episode that Burgess produced. It's a particularly beautiful one, in my opinion. I'll let Brave Little State take it from here.
I've had many animals, but she is the closest for obvious reasons. Sleeps on the bed with me, and we're very close. All right, I'm glad you agree.
This is Steve Finner and his cat, Mitzi. Steve just turned 87. We're sitting on the bed that's right across from the kitchen in his studio apartment in Barrie.
What are these paintings on the wall here? Are these former pets?
Yeah, my wife and I, when she was alive, had a ministry of adopting senior dogs, which meant, of course, they would die. And so we had Cooper, cancer, Toto got deaf, Posey.
It's a Monday, which means that in about half an hour, Steve is going to catch the Green Mountain Transit bus to the Unitarian Church of Montpelier for choir practice. Steve doesn't drive anymore, so the bus is how he gets most places.
What should people know about you? What do your days look like?
Well, I'm old. So a large part of my days are spent on self-care, just taking care of an old man and his cat. Because one of the things that happens as one ages is everything takes longer.
Hey, Jean. This is my friend, the reporter. Say hello to the reporter. She's our fill-in chef today. Oh, she made nasty chip beef gravy.
Bobby Utley is giving me a tour of the Riverside Life Enrichment Center in Lyndonville. It's like a community center with health services for elderly and disabled Vermonters. And Bobby's here 5 days a week.
RCT brings me here. Most of us here are RCT riders.
RCT is Rural Community Transportation, a nonprofit with free bus routes and taxi-style car services in northern Vermont. Bobby and a lot of her friends here don't drive, and so RCT buses pick them up and drop them off at Riverside.
Yesterday, what did we do yesterday? Carol, what did we do yesterday for a... Oh, yeah, bingo. Mondays and Thursday afternoons is bingo. Wednesday is bowling. And Tuesday, it might be cornhole, it might be bocce ball.
It feels pretty busy in here today. Is this like a typical day in terms of how many people are here?
No, this is light. Casino day is usually packed. Once a month we have casino day. And they give us $5 worth of chips. And you get to keep what you win.
I could go a whole day without talking to one person. It would be possible. So I try hard to see as many people as I possibly can.
Jerry Quinlan is 92 and hasn't driven in 2 years. She's got macular degeneration, which means that she's slowly going blind.
Two things that Jerry's going to miss when she can't see is gardening and cooking.
And this is Jerry's friend Melanie, who often drives her around when she's got somewhere to be.
Tell them how much you garden.
Oh, yeah. I have a vegetable garden. I have a large flower garden and a small flower garden and many shrubs. And it's what I do all summer. It's what I look forward to all winter.
Jerry wants to do everything by herself. She has a hard time asking for help. A very hard time asking for help.
That's true. That's true. it is hard to ask for a ride. Who likes to be? Who likes to inconvenience other people? Nobody does.
I'm sitting in the car with Jerry because Jerry sent in a question to Brave Little State. She wants to know how Vermonters, like her, are maintaining their social lives after they can no longer drive. So, to answer that question, we're riding along with 3 Vermonters: Steve on his way to choir practice, Bobby at the adult care facility, and Jerry, who's on her way to meet about a dozen friends for a long-standing coffee date at Martone's Market and Cafe in Essex.
It's vital to be able to keep up with people and see everybody.
We'll chat with them on the bus and in a ride share and in a friend's car about getting around, but also about grief and independence and aging and friendship. We'll pick it back up with Steve after the break.
This is the bus stop. Now it took us about 8 minutes, which is okay. I used to do it in 5.
Tell me about how you're feeling today.
This is the first time I've been out of the house in 3 days because I haven't been doing well. But boy, it takes the wind out of me not having been. Obvious that the interstitial lung disease, something's going on. So I have outlived everybody in the past generation of my family. Sometime in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, I'm going to die. And the only thing I want is that it be drama-free. Because 2 years ago in May, I lost my younger son to a heart attack. When you lose an adult child, your world changes. And it makes me obviously more comfortable with the thought of my own death. Oh, look who's coming. Right on time.
I had to surrender my license because I had a stroke. I was working at Kinney Drug in St. Jay in the pharmacy, and I'd gotten to work and I had a wicked headache, and I sat down and drank some water and took some Tylenol, and the bell rang that somebody was at the drive-thru, and I stood up to wait on him, and down I went. Spent, I think, 3 weeks down at Dartmouth. Then when I finally went home, my ex-husband couldn't deal with a handicapped wife. But that's neither here nor there, so I went and lived with my niece and had home health. And then it got to be where it was just too much for her. And they put me into this AFC program, which is adult family care. But they told me I would never walk again, which I can, that I would never be able to do anything for myself. It's just not easy, but I don't give up. I don't give up. Too damn stubborn. Would I like to drive again? Yes, I would. I mean, I'm not even 65 yet. I'm 64. I shouldn't be doing nothing. I expected to work until I was at least 70, but there's not a lot you can do with one hand. Oh, today we had our hands waxed. We have paraffin wax, and you dip your hands in it, and see how soft it makes them?
It was 2 summers ago. It was kind of a cloudy day, and I drove up to town to do some groceries, and I had some trouble. I went in the wrong driveway, and the next day was brighter, and I thought, I won't have any trouble now, so I went and did much the same thing. And so I came home and had no difficulty deciding that I would not drive again. I remember telling someone, well, I feel like I've cut my legs off. That was the feeling I had. I could not go. I couldn't do things. It's not maybe a good way to look at it, but that was my first feeling.
Can you tell me about the last time you drove?
Yes. I was living in Baltimore with my son and driving my car. And he said, "Dad, I'm not comfortable with your driving." So when he said that, I pulled over to the side of the road. I gave him the keys, and that was the last time I drove.
Why were you so quick to make that decision?
Because of the alternatives. The alternative was to have an accident. And there could be a high probability that I would injure or kill somebody. Now, if I had a choice as to whom I was going to kill, then I might have kept on driving. But it doesn't work that way.
I used to love to polka.
Used to polka.
Yep. Square dance, you name it. My husband and I did them all. And then it stopped. I got to go to the grocery store a few weeks ago. That was pretty cool. Do you know how long it's been since I've been in the grocery store? When did groceries get so expensive? But there again, I can't do it unless somebody helps me. I have to ask for rides. I just can't go. And that really kind of sucks. Makes me feel useless. Because I've been on the other end of that spectrum where I was the caregiver, not the care receiver. And that's tough when the tables are turned like that. So, see, I used to work for home health. I worked for home health for 13 years. I was a home health aide. And like here at Riverside, there's a couple ladies that I had taken care of their husbands. Bonnie in the big wheelchair, I took care of her. So I love coming here. I like it. I like being with people. I usually have joke days. So, I mean, I try to make jokes and laugh, because you need to laugh every day. And I mean no disrespect, but what do you call a line of rabbits hopping backwards?
I don't know what.
A receding hairline.
For the listener, I am bald.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's good.
It's a nice group. I told you, it's an amazing group.
You're looking at more than 20 years of friendship.
So why is this important, this group?
Oh, it's so much fun.
We are available to help each other
Yeah.
when help is needed. That is the main thing. You know, I pick somebody up at the train, somebody else drops me off at a train.
Me too, and Jerry,
Right.
she picks Jerry up every Friday.
We all have a vast experience with medical issues.
Yeah.
We all know a bevy of doctors that we
Pass around.
pass around. We're extended family.
Yeah, and it may be even more so now that so many of us are alone.
When we started this, there was one widow at the table. Now we have 7.
What does it feel like to support each other? It feels good to get support, I imagine, but what does it feel like to be giving support for each
It's
other?
natural now. We've been doing it for so long. It's like helping our sisters out, I think.
But it's hard, though. There's a loss of independence. You know, when somebody takes your car away and you have to call somebody for a ride, it takes you a while to realize that, yeah, I need some help, and sure, I'd love a ride, kind of thing.
The hardest thing for Jerry was asking for help,
that
and
is
she
true.
still has trouble with that because she's been so independent all her life.
And Jerry has abandoned me. I used to take her home, and now she's got a favorite.
That's all right. I'll call you tomorrow.
We have to take one more quick break. We'll be back with more Brave Little State on Vermont Edition in just a minute. Welcome back to Vermont Edition. I'm Michaela Lafrac. Today on the show, we're listening to a recent episode of Brave Little State. In it, we follow 3 Vermonters who have given up their car keys in this driving-friendly region. Let's dive back into the episode, which was reported by Burgess Brown.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Hi, Mary. Hi, Rosemary. I sit here because I'm the only bass in the group. Today, there's usually 2 of us, and the other one is off traveling. He's a youngster. He's 75.
Concerts. It was great.
All right, here we go. Why don't everybody stand up? Ready, go. Oh, so nice.
Welcome to my ride. Bye, Taylor. You don't know what you got yourself into with me. He's just locking my chair down. They have straps with big hooks on it so that my chair doesn't move when he's driving. I hate being alone. You know, I was married for 28 years. And just all the things we used to do. Sunday afternoon, we might just get in the truck and go for a ride.
What's scary about being alone?
Just, you know, when you're used to having somebody by your side all the time, and I mean, we used to have dinner and then we'd sit and watch the news and discuss it, and or read something in the newspaper. I suppose I could do that with my family I live with, but I sit, after supper, I usually go into my room and I sit alone and watch what I want to watch. I like the happy stuff. Like I watch Heilman, which is about a horse ranch, or One Calls the Heart.
What's something that's gotten better about your life?
Closer friendships. I mean, I've had some things happen that I had no control over. And if I'm having a bad day, I know I can go to Riverside and my friends are there, and there's always something in the day that makes you laugh.
Jerry is our role model.
Yes.
We all want to grow.
Jerry and
older,
Louise are
just
what we
like
want to
her.
be when we get that old.
She has a better memory than I do, and I'm only 83. I'm a baby.
What does it feel like to hear from your friends?
It's embarrassing. And beyond belief. I don't give that much, but I've always thought, isn't this wonderful? This is a group of bright women and fun. Just how lucky we are to have this group.
That's a lot of work for you to get out there. Why is that important to you?
Oh, this choir?
Yeah.
I was born a Jew. I am a Jew. And I had joined the Unitarian Church when I had married a non-Jew and really got very involved. It's been my faith now for 52 years, and I started singing the music. I hadn't sung for a long time, and I just found the spirit of that music to be talking to me. And the way that I put it metaphorically is, when I sing that music, I touch the face of the God or Great Spirit. Now, it doesn't have to be the God word, but I touch the face of that, which I don't know, don't understand, and don't have a name for, which is fine. And so that music has fed my soul now for over 40 years. When the stars begin to fall, when the stars begin to yeah, that went pretty well.
Thanks to Brave Little State for sharing that wonderful episode with us. The reporter was Burgess Brown. Editing and production from the rest of the BLS team, Sabine Pooks and Josh Crane, with additional editing from Erica Heilman. The BLS intern is Lucia McCallum, and Angela Evansy is their executive producer. Theme music by Ty Gibbons. Other music by Blue Dot Sessions. Tomorrow on Vermont Edition, we are going to explore snack bar culture. In the summertime, our region's snack bars are the place to eat, especially if you're craving a pint of fries or a milkshake after a sunny day at the beach or at camp. 7 Days food editor Melissa Passanen will help us create a long list of the region's best snack bars. And we'll hear from some local snack bar owners, too. Email us ahead of tomorrow's show with your favorite snack bar and what you like to order there. Our email is vermontedition@vermontpublic.org. All right, that is all the time we have for today. John Ahrens is Vermont Edition's managing producer. Andrea Lorian and Daniela Fierro are our producers. Our intern is Callie Canuxerl. Our theme music is by Myra Flynn. I'm Michaela Lafrac. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch up again soon.